Eason, a Grand Prix runner-up at Grand Prix Charleston a couple of years ago. So this should be a fun one to watch with top 8 on the line for both of them. Eason with that white-black deck. Small splash of red here from Munda, ambush leader.
If I recall correctly, there's also a Painful Truth in the list.
There is. And as we did see Seth Manfield and Shahar Shenhar draft, those players not going to be making top 8 here this weekend, but some of the cards that they did pass and try to play around, they are in Michael Majors and Brian Eason's deck. So some of these cards will certainly look familiar, as it looks like Eason is going to take a mulligan. Majors is going to take a look at his opening hand. He'll be on the draw here for game number 1. He says he will keep, and now Eason will be taking a look at 6 cards here, and if he does keep those 6, the Vancouver mulligan rule will be in effect. For Eason, because you guys did get to see Michael Majors' deck last round if you were with us, a Cliffside Lookout, Courier Griffin, 2 copies of Encircling Fissure.
Though I suspect that card's not going to be at its best in this matchup.
Okay.
Against Shahar's deck, which was a red-white aggressive allies strategy, Encircling Fissure is one of the best cards you can have, but it's a little matchup specific.
Got a Gideon's Reproach, 2 copies of Core Blade World, 2 Ondu Greathorn, 2 Serene Steward, a Sheer Drop, 2 Tandem Tactics. Great combo there with the Serene Steward. A Pilgrim's Eye to help find that mountain for the Painful Truths, along with the Munda Ambush Leader. Complete Disregard, Demon's Grasp, that powerful removal spell. Calestra Healer, Calestra Night Watch. Arcana Assassin. I thought there was a check mark next to the old Nyx list, but there's not one there, fortunately for Michael. Wasteland Strangler there as well. This looks to be a pretty good white-black deck, though Eason, I believe, taking another mulligan now. So 5 cards to start off his 15th round of Magic. We'll see what he can find as his good friend Michael Majors does wait patiently.
Have I told you that I dislike pile shuffling?
Oh, dude, tell me more. I had no idea.
It's not an efficient use of time, that's all.
I'm telling you, I hope that you either cover one of my matches soon or I play against you soon. It's going to be what I like to call the pile shuffle hard lock.
Mm-hmm. Turn 1, Wooded Foothills.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm taking you right in.
Cast a Ponder.
Oof. Not even going to look at the 3 cards. I'm just going to shuffle. We'll see how the 5 are here for Brian.
Now I think Eason may have played a first land here before resolving the Vancouver mulligan.
Oh, dear.
So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah. They are pretty good friends, so I'm sure Michael can have it.
Your buddy mulligans to 5 on the play.
Yeah.
Now is probably not the best time to jam him up.
Yeah. that sucks. You can't have it.
Just let him have it.
Yeah. At Grand Prix Seattle Tacoma last week, and I missed the Vancouver mulligan twice. I just forgot that it was a thing. Top card to the bottom, and my opponent told me at the end of the round, they're like, just by the way, you might want to take the scry. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I am pro Vancouver mulligan.
I love it.
I think it improves the game. But you can see why game designers often talk about intuitive rule sets. It's a little bit of a patchy rule, and it gets missed a lot because it's just not intuitive that would be the case.
And I don't play as much anymore, so I just didn't even think about it at all. You know, if I'd been playing a bunch like that, I get to play 4 or 5 tournaments a year. I just forgot.
The first time it happened to me on Magic Online, I assumed there was a bug.
Yeah, just a card.
Why is my Wooded Foothills on the screen all of a sudden?
Eason with all 3 colors of mana to start, along with the Calestra Healer coming across here for 1. Michael Major's going to cast and Anticipate on Brian's end step.
Looks like Eason's got a functioning 5-card hand at least. He was able to make a play on turn 2, has all 3 colors of mana.
Back over to Majors we go. It's a Valakut Predator before Michael does pass the turn back over to Eason. Painful Truth to draw.
Nice.
That'll undo a mulligan.
Pretty good.
Yep. Got to pay 3, but you get to draw 3. So 3 cards coming here for Brian. Monday Ambush Leader found in those cards.
It's shaping up to be a very good 5-card hand for Eason.
I think we got a game on our hands. I'll pass the turn back. No land actually in those 3 cards. We'll see if there's one sitting on top of his deck. There is a mountain. That'll trigger the Predator. I believe it'll be an attack for 4. And now Majors will simply pass the turn back as Eason falls down to 14. No land here for Brian yet again. Gideon's Reproach the draw. Here come the beatdowns with the healer. Majors will fall down to 17. And all Eason can do is pass the turn back yet again. And there is a trigger there from the Valakut Predator. Here's an attack. Gideon's Reproach will take care of that, or at least attempt to. Down goes the 4/4.
And Majors' hand quite land heavy here. Sitting on Horribly Awry, can't counter Gideon's Reproach with that. Eason hasn't played a creature with any of his mana yet. I think Clutch of Currents also Majors' hand. I think Majors would really like it if Eason just started casting some stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's a Core Blade Whirl, so that's some stuff, but that's going to get countered by Horribly Awry. Time for Michael to untap and take a draw here. There's a land. There's Clutch of Currents. One of the 4.
And I think Majors drew another copy of Clutch of Currents this turn, which is why he's willing to bounce a relatively anemic creature. He just wants to get the ball rolling while Eason stalled on lands.
Yeah, we could see one of these type of games. Eason looks like he's going to be stuck on lands yet again. Don't think he drew one that turn. You thought maybe the Painful Truths could dig him out of this, especially because it was for 3. But Brian's having some real trouble here. He's going to tap all of his mana to play a spell here this turn. That's not so bad, the Pilgrim's Eye.
If you're going to play a spell here in the face of a potential clutch the next turn, Pilgrim's Eye is about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah. Michael will play a land. Curious to see if he's just out bouncing anyway. I don't care. It looks like the answer to that is yes. Pilgrim's Eye, get out of the way. Coming across here for 6 is Michael Majors. Brian Eason's going to fall down to 5. And he's got some real catching up to do. Swamp the draw here for Eason.
Priority here for Eason, get as many 3-power creatures into play as possible, and something like a 3/4 is probably worth the risk. If you can get that on the table, Majors maybe doesn't have an answer, it becomes hard for him to attack. You can push it down to 2, but that's not lethal, and maybe you can dump more on the table the next turn.
Here's 4 mana. It's going to be Monday Ambush Leader. Michael will take a look, and we can do the same. There will be a trigger here for Brian. There's a 3/4, which you mentioned is key right now. You also get that Goblin Ringleader-esque trigger. Take a look at the top 4 cards. Any allies that you do find do stay on top. The rest will go to the bottom. You're going to have to reveal those allies as well.
I mean, if Majors has nothing, this is a starting point. A lot of things can go wrong, obviously.
Of course. They'll all go to the bottom here for Brian. He'll pass the turn back over to Michael. Michael with 2 Awoken Islands. He's very quickly playing a land, and that is another copy of Clutch of Currents, and we are all done here. Michael Major's going to win game number 1 here over his good friend Brian Eason. Blue-Red quickly up a game over White-Black as these 2 players get ready for game number 2.
I thought when Eason drew that Painful Truths, he might be able to dig himself out of that mulligan to 5. I mean, that was as good as it's going to get there, but did not find any mana off of the cards he drew, and just too many turns of casting only 1 spell. And again, someone with 3 copies of Clutch of Currents, it's not going to get the job done.
That's the thing that Majors wants to see Eason do in the games. Again, just the recipe for success for Michael's deck is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Get ahead of your opponent a little bit. They have to tap out to play something big to stabilize, bounce that, awaken the land, or maybe not.
Yep.
And just keep pushing in damage.
Yeah, Majors' deck has a lot of ways to shut the door once he gets ahead. So it's just a battle about the early turns. Now, Eason does have a lot of early drops in his deck. It's not like his curve's that bad, just an issue with mana there.
Both players going to the drawing board, as we've just been informed that Owen Turtenwald, former player of the year, just coming off for a Pro Tour top 8 at Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar in his hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, up a game looking for another Grand Prix top 8 on that healthy resume. That's a Hall of Fame resume for what it's worth.
You can vote for him now, or you can vote for him 3 years from now, or whatever, but it's happening.
He'll be in with his good buddy, William Jensen, and eventually, I think, the 3rd member of the Peach Garden 03, Duke. So we'll see if Owen Turtenwald does make the top 8. He'd be someone I'm sure we'd love to follow with our draft player cam. But for right now, we turn our attention to Michael Majors and Brian Eason, both players going to the drawing board here with the sideboards. Eason, we'll see if he selects to be on the play or the draw. Given how that last game went, I have to imagine he wants to be on the play.
Yeah, it's tough because his deck is 3 colors. It's not like it's that heavy of a splash, but every time you add the 3rd color to your deck, you got to be a little bit worried about how your mana is going to come together, and that's an incentive to take the draw. But against 4 copies of Clutch Occurrence, that's a tough position to take.
Both players appear to be happy with their configurations, so it's time to shuffle. Get ready here for the next one. Majors and Eason, both Atlanta locals. For Michael, he only lives about 20 minutes from here. You got to love a hometown Grand Prix.
I do.
Those are the best.
I got one coming up next year, Grand Prix in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Now that that's my adopted hometown, I suppose.
When is that? I didn't even know that was happening.
So I want to say early summer, but I can't say for sure.
Shock on the couch.
Okay.
I'll come out. Looks like Brian's likely to be on the draw.
Yeah, it's I think if he was 2 colors, he'd be much more likely to take the play. But with the 3rd color in the deck, you got to hedge a little bit there.
So this is the situation where you take the draw, your opponent mulligans, and you're already pumping the fist.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Oh, yeah.
You've already won.
We're in the top 8!
Yeah. Yeah. You know, down a game, but yeah, actually, I'll take what I can get. Sometimes you just want to feel like a genius. I get it. I get it. Looks like Sam Black playing for top 8 right now, along with a couple of other players in our feature match area. But for right now, Michael Majors currently up a game, looking for, I believe this will be his 4th Grand Prix top 8 on the resume. And he already is a Grand Prix champion, looking for a 2nd title. For someone who was almost considering hanging up the wand. Mm-hmm. Not a great idea.
No one ever really hangs it up.
It's very true. It's very true. It's impossible to do. Too great of a game. And Michael Majors' resurgence here over the past couple of months has been very impressive. Had a good Pro Tours, had a good couple of Grand Prix. Had Grand Prix Indianapolis a couple weeks ago. 20th place there. So not the top 8 finish he was looking for, but still a good finish nonetheless.
And those kind of slow and steady Grand Prix finishes, first of all, they're still very challenging to accomplish. And second, they are the type of finishes that build up silver to gold resumes and gold to platinum resumes.
Consistency is key.
It's impossible to do it all in one tournament.
Yep.
So those steady finishes, they don't get a lot of fanfare, but they are a lot of what goes into creating the game's top pros.
We're underway here. Majors start off with an island. Eason kept 7 this time. He has a swamp. A mountain here for Majors. He'll simply pass the turn back. For Brian, land number 2 is a plains. Colors appear to be online for both players. Majors with just a mountain. He'll pass the turn back. 3rd color here for Brian. And the spell's countered by Horribly Awry.
Nakaran Assassin.
Incubator Drone. That'll bring along an Eldrazi spawn. Let's see what's next here for Brian. He's got a Courier Griffin. That one we've seen a lot of this week, and the Nakaran Assassin not so much. Michael coming across into the red zone, 2-3. Now, one thing we've seen from Michael here this weekend, he does have a copy of Boiling Earth in the deck. Eason going to take that damage. Back down to 20 he goes. There's an island. This is a Benthic Infiltrator, and that is a Kozilek Sentinel. Again, this is the kind of game that he wants to play. Get a little ahead on the board.
Yep.
And start firing off Clutch Currents.
And Eason with Painful Truths in his hand, and Majors, if he can play this way, can take a lot of sting out of it by making it just very challenging to cast.
Well, there's your discard spell. And there goes Michael's hand. The hand wasn't particularly good, though. And now in comes Michael. A little bit of damage to be dealt. There will be an ingest trigger there from the Infiltrator. Away goes Demon's Grasp. And Michael will just have to pass the turn back. So Eason trying to D up here a little bit. There's Painful Truths. Got the time to cast it now. So he'll lose 3 to draw 3. No lands there.
Yeah, that's painful. I mean, you really want to make your land drop after you draw 3 cards at this stage of the game.
The Plush or a Healer is the play, however. He's got something to do afterward. Majors will take a draw step here. Picked up an island to go along with his mountain. There's the infiltrator, can't be blocked, so time to ingest, a card away. Eason going to fall down to 14. There's an island past the turn back over to Eason, who may be stabilizing here.
I mean, at this point, he's only taking 1 a turn, working with basically a full grip cards, all of his mana. Ooh, combo.
A member of Combo Nation.
Serene Stewart. Alongside the Calestria Healer. That just works.
Over to Majors now we go. Eason doing a nice job of coming back here.
Scumming up the works.
Yep.
Huge advantage in overall resources.
There's complete disregard to take care of that annoyance. An island there for Majors past the turn back. Now, what gets interesting now is, as good as Clutch is, and it's a very good card, it gets worse when games are gummed up like this.
When Eason can just get a lot of knuckleheads on the table and just gum up the works, there's not a whole lot to be created here.
There's a core Blade World. That's going to trigger the healer, which means that's going to trigger the Steward. The Steward's going to put a counter somewhere. And it's going to go into the Griffin. Now the Griffin's going to come into the red zone. Major's going to fall down to 14.
And for as good as Major's deck is and has been up until this point, these kind of boards, a lot of different utility creatures in play, no real way for Majors to create leverage with cudgel cards. His deck doesn't have a whole lot of recourse here.
Yeah.
This is a place where his deck's underpowered and drawing very thin.
Here comes Incubator Drone. Now, in situations like this, maybe you do have to get a little bit of crafty in how you attack. The drone will deal 2 points of damage. Eason's going to fall down to 15. But Brian's got a lot of life to work with.
Yeah, there's time.
Here's a Grave Birthing. He'll exile a card, create a Scion, and draw a card. Eason, oh, he's feeling confident now. He's coming in with a couple of creatures. Before it was just a Courier Griffin, but now some other things can afford to attack. Maybe. Perhaps he slows down a touch.
Well, there's no attack to be made really with the healer, as Majors can simply block with his 1/4, and he exposes himself to some risk.
Wasteland Strangler. Gotta come on down. Take care of that Incubator Drone. Michael will draw a card. But this is what you alluded to a little bit. This is where the clutches aren't as good. And he doesn't really have a great draw to get out of the situation. Not even a Wrath effect, really, to rebuild.
Yeah, there's no sweeper. There's no even really big flyer. I mean, he's now just kind of playing out the stretch here.
Yeah, the big question is, does he have a card like Rolling Thunder?
No, nothing like that.
Quick update here for you guys. Owen Turtenwald, he gets the W. He wins his match 2-0. You can look forward to seeing the former Player of the Year and future Hall of Famer into the top 8. Congratulations to him. Kozilek Sentinel going to jump in front of the Wasteland Strangler. Eason, I think, correctly sensing some weakness here. Going to start attacking, get this game over with.
Yeah, I mean, even if Majors has some really powerful, unexpected trick, Eason's still got 4 cards in hand. Spawns will jump in front of each other. Looks like Brian might have a trick here. Tandem tactics. A little bit of life gain, couple of triggers. Gonna pay the 1, make the healer a little bit bigger. And Michael Majors is all done here. So Brian Eason is going to tie this match up against Michael Majors. The white-black deck able to fight back against blue-red. The two have a little laugh as they get ready here for game number 3. Eason there with, I think, a winning recipe for the matchup, which is gum up the works, generate a lot of card advantage, and win with the leftovers. As long as he doesn't allow the board to become too high tension, the slower and gummier the game is, the more likely he is to have an advantage in the late game.
We'll see if either player goes back to the drawing board. It looks like Michael Majors already going back to the sideboard here. So we'll see what he's moving around. Eason taking a look through the 40 before shuffling and presenting his deck. As it all comes down to one game now for these two players. A win likely locks him for top 8. And joining Owen Turtenwald, Tom Martell, Dan Musser, and a couple of other players here later this evening.
An acceptable top 8.
I'm glad you approve.
Maybe Sam Black.
Yeah, he could throw him in there too.
It'll do. It's fine.
And for Michael Majors, Grand Prix San Diego champion, working his way back onto the Pro Tour and solidifying his status as a gold and potentially platinum level pro, which is something he just missed out on a couple of years ago. For Brian Eason, playing a little bit less now, but when he does play, wins do head his way. A lot of success in Hearthstone, Grand Prix Charleston runner-up in 2012, and 1 game away from another Grand Prix top 8.
And Eason's decks, the deck that he's playing right now, typically these are decks that I try to avoid drafting. They're, you know, could be a little cumbersome, a little bulky, for lack of a better word. But when we watch them on camera, when the game's slowed down, the synergies have been really, really strong. He's gaining life. He's making combat challenging. He has the biggest stuff in play. He's been slowly and steadily grinding people down in the games we've watched him win. Just in terms of raw card count, he was up 3 cards on the discard spell and the Painful Truths. And with Majors not really pressuring him in any way, being up 3 cards in the game that's going to result in a win a huge percentage of the time.
Yeah, I believe that's the case as well. Well, it's 1 game for it all. Invite to the Pro Tour. Playing top 8 later today. Get a 3rd booster draft in. You gotta love a 3rd draft.
Of course, so many opportunities to take foil lands.
Maybe a little expedition. Who knows?
Oh yeah, we could have a repeat of Pascal's draft, maybe.
Oh, I
don't know what the Flooded Strands and the Scalding Tarns and Deltas are worth, but probably a lot.
I'm taking it with me. I'm taking it with me. I'm not even looking at the rest of the pack.
It's not foil Goyf, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Just add it to the retirement fund. That's all.
Yeah, I've just got a dresser drawer full with the retirement fund.
Beautiful.
Just stacks of just random stuff, random foils, Grand Prix playmats, pins, deck boxes, sleeves.
A who's who.
Yeah. It's a diverse portfolio. I'm not too long on any one particular asset. They tell you when you're saving for retirement, you want to diversify your portfolio.
They do say that.
I'm not just on cards. I got playmats, deck boxes, sleeves.
Pins, dice.
Yep. Various spin down dice from fat packs many years old.
Sealed fat packs,
yep.
Open fat packs, the booklet in the fat pack.
Mm-hmm. Posters.
Yep. So I know you have Sideboard Magazine.
I do have Sideboard magazines, yes.
You Google that at home. You want to see a young Patrick Sullivan, Google Sideboard Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find him in there. I think it's with you, Osip, and Adam Horvath, if memory serves.
Yep.
I think there's a team picture, you guys.
Shenanigans.
That's right. A great team name. Eason will be on the play here for game number 3. He's got a Plains. And he'll start things off with a Cliffside Lookout. An island here for Majors.
Got the 1 mountain in his hand again, I think.
Must be nice. I suppose the question is, does he have the first swamp? And the answer is yes. The Sandstone Bridge made that attack for a little bit more. As Majors with just a couple of lands to start. Here's an attack here from Eason. Majors already down to 17. There's a swamp. Here's a Serene Steward. Pass the turn back over to Michael, who I think we're going to see and anticipate here, and we will. So we'll take a look at the top 3, take one of them with him. 2 islands and a mountain are the options here for Majors. Looks like mountain is the choice. Back over to Michael we go. He's got himself an island. Just passing the turn back over to Brian. Nothing doing here for Michael just yet. We've seen counter magic from his deck and horribly Orion spell shrivel. For Eason, it's that second copy of Sandstone Bridge. Going to make the attack even better. 4 damage dealt. Major's already down to 13. Eason, no follow-up. Does have some spells in hand to cast. Now here's an incubator drone. Trigger. You can get a Scion. Pass the turn back over to Eason, who will untap and draw.
But this is sort of the pace of play and the kind of board where Clutch Occurrence is losing value. I mean, if Eason can follow up here with another play, there's not a whole lot to be done with it.
It's the mountain there for Brian. So if he has Munda Ambush Leader, he can play that. Painful Truce for the full amount. It's his call. For right now, it is Munda Ambush Leader. That's the 3/4 haste. There will be a trigger here on the hunt for allies.
And Major's already at 13, likely to fall to 10 in this combat. There's a cliffside lookout on the eastern side of the table. He's got 5 mana, so blocking is becoming pretty complicated for Majors. And it's hard for him to really swing back to much effect with Clutch because the best threat in play is Munda, and that has haste.
Munda's going to come across. Major's going to fall down to 10. It's been one-sided so far this game. Major's got some real catching up to do, and he knows there's a Callisto Nightwatch on top of the deck. And that'll trigger Munda again to keep the threats coming.
And it's just another clunker that mucks up the board.
Yep.
But it's still bigger than anything that Major brings to the table. Eason's at 20. So playing a tempo game right now is not going to be very effective for Majors.
And that first game that we saw from Michael, that's the recipe for his deck. Keep you off balance, push you over. There's an attack with the incubator drone. An island here. And there's Clutch, make a 3/3, pass the turn back. Got to get that Munda off the board. Callisto Nightwatch is the draw. It's not the kind of Clutch Michael, I think, wants to cast, but it's the kind of Clutch that he needs to cast.
Exactly. It's not a Clutch that's creating leverage. It's one that's just stemming the tide for a little bit.
There's Munda yet again. No trigger there.
I believe Munda is a May.
Fair enough. Everybody coming in.
And I think with Eason's hand just jammed up right now, he's got a lot of spells, no lands. I think he's willing to trade the Cliffside Lookout, which demands a lot of mana, for the Eldrazi when Majors is also in the need for mana.
There's your trade. 5 damage will come through. Major's down to 5. Back over to Michael. We're going to go. He'll draw a card. Got some real catching up to do. Clutch again. Munda gone. 3 more counters on the island. Curious to see if he wants to attack with the island or if he wants to attack at all.
He may want to hang back on defense as an insurance policy for the land getting removed. The other side of that argument is, can Majors win the game regardless if that land gets killed?
He's coming in for 6.
Oh, okay, we're going to do it the other way.
It's time to race.
Love it.
Eason down to 12. Brian will draw. Tandem Tactics. Now, one thing to note, Brian's been stuck on 5 lands for a long time.
Which is why he was willing to trade the Lookout the previous turn for the Eldrazi Scion.
A lot to think about here if you're Brian Eason. The last 2 turns have just been Munda. He's cast that, passed the turn back, and maybe this turn he wants to play a couple of threats if he can.
Well, in a spot where your opponent has one big threat in play, you're typically better served trying to go around it if you can't kill it.
Here comes the sewer. It's a 2/2 into a 2/3. Seems like an obvious block, right? It's not that obvious.
Well, it's one of those, you know, if my opponent has a pump spell, I'm going to 5-3, it's pretty risky to say no blocks anyway.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. If it was Lithomancer's focus, Eason probably just plays Munda as the first order of business and attacks with both.
Yep.
So Majors can probably take that trick off the table. So then the question is, what's the next wave of tricks I'm playing around? Tandem tactics, maybe Boiling Earth. There's some oddballs, but he can take Lithomancer's focus off the table.
Now, what's interesting in Eason's hand, if he plays a tandem tactics, up to one target creature can sponsor 1/+2. You also get a life trigger. You can pay a life, put a counter on. So tandem tactics will work out pretty well here. And there is the tactics.
And the life gain is nice here for Eason too, because he's currently taking on a 2-turn clock. Now it's gone to a 3-turn clock, going from 12 above that.
Wasteland Strangler, the play after combat.
I think Majors may have just drawn a Halmer Tie Caller, and that's an excellent draw here.
That's a doozy if that's the case.
Gets back a clutch, gives his land flying.
Yep. Then we're really racing. I know he's got a Coastal Discovery in hand too. So this is, boy, this is getting close here. And now Michael's got a lot to think about. He's going to start by attacking for 6. Eason down to 8. What's next here for Michael Majors? A land. Tide Caller. Get back the clutch. Redeploy the clutch. Wasteland Strangler down. Does he have a follow-up play too? Oh boy, Tightening Coils. Heck of a turn.
And with this in hand, if he has a copy of Coastal Discovery, he can just load up that land next turn. If nothing happens to the Tie Caller and Eason doesn't produce a removal spell or a flying blocker, that's it.
That's it, yeah. It's close. Eason taking a long look. Multiple turns here for Brian. He's really needed a 6th land to be able to do 2 spells in 1 turn.
Yeah, he's just been jammed up here the whole game, and that problem has been exacerbated by by the clutches.
Yep.
And Coastal Discovery is such a great insurance policy here for Majors. If Eason has nothing, it's a kill. And even if Eason can kill the land, it's probably his whole turn, and then he just draws 2 and makes a 4/4.
Yep.
Fires in, still has lethal the following turn.
Bunch of mana here for Brian. Ooh,
okay.
Mortuary Mire takes care of the Coastal Discovery. Brian's going to quickly untap and draw. That was a big play.
That was big, although it does mean that Eason, assuming that he has to chump block the Tie Caller.
Yep.
And then both threats are lethal.
There's the block. So we pass. You can't block the flyer. Am I wrong? Land was fine, right?
Yeah.
I would pause. I don't know what to do. Looks like that is going to do it.
Yes, that was a kill on the way back there.
That's a kill on the way back there.
The healer plus Munda.
Yep.
That's 6 points of damage on the, or excuse me, 5 points of damage on the nose.
Yep. Okay, yeah, so that's going to be, I believe that, yeah, that's going to be Xaxes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for on Brian's side. He chump blocks, and I think what's happening now is they're realizing that he couldn't block the land that was flying, but Eason found the land, plays the healer, trigger, brings him down to 4, and then kills him.
It's not relevant to the outcome of the
Correct.
game here.
That is correct.
But that could have potentially been huge depending on what happened on Eason's side.
That is correct. But with how the game ended up playing out, he just kills him anyway with the healer plus the Munda. You get 2 life gain triggers plus 3 haste.
Yeah.
That's going to be exactly lethal. And I think that's exactly what is being explained here right now. But you can see Michael says it wouldn't have changed the outcome, I think, is his body language.
Yeah,
here.
Majors knows that this isn't real. It didn't change anything on the way back. Eason could survive the turn as long as he could jump block anything.
Yeah.
And then Eason's lethal wasn't affected by anything that happened on the previous turn.
The judge got to the situation a little bit late there. So I don't think this is going to change the outcome of the game. I mean, we'll find a ruling when we do have it here as you see what's being explained. I think, yeah, you can see here, two friends playing, I don't think it's going to change anything. And you can see that Michael extended the hand. So fortunately, it doesn't change the outcome of the game because that could have been a disaster there. But Brian Eason's going to win this match over Michael Major after finally finding a land. So he can play Glister Healer and Munda in the same turn for exactly 5 to get the job done.
Yeah, that was very impressively done there. And, and Major's in a tough spot there. He can't, I don't know